Apparently, Asians were black. And yeah, this is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable.
Why does this 76-year-old man who's 100% Chinese have a deep chocolate skin tone?
Recent DNA evidence has proven that early Japanese people were purely black and have played a significant role in Japan's history.
What if I told you that there are Asians who look like this, yet are genetically more similar to those who look like these?
It's not hard for me as a Chinese person to admit that I came from melanin. The original Chinese, just like the original of everybody, were dark-skinned melanated beings.
The first people who inhabited the Philippines are black people. We call them negritos or negritas, meaning small black people.
I am actually a black person.
You think Asians are considered white? Yeah, so this was my skin color as a kid. I was darker than some African Americans today.
Wow, we're really not all that different, guys.
Koreans are black. My long-lost Korean brothers and sisters. You need to wake up and deactivate your coon chip. The colonizers want you to think you're not black. The colonizers want you to think you're not black, but you are black. Look at my fellow light-skinned brothers, my black brothers. They are black. All Koreans are kings and queens on this earth, like us.
These are beautiful black-skinned Indians.
They try to erase everything. Yeah. Because there's black Japanese people. They have a whole black Japanese military.
Yes, y'all are Asian, but y'all are also black people.
Welcome to the cookout, Asians. It's going down.
Now, some of y'all laughing, but this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because the moment you actually look into it, you start realizing that this is not just internet talk. There are real groups in Asia, real records, real features that don't match what we've been shown our whole lives. And the real question is, why aren't many people aware of this? Why aren't we aware of the fact that many Asians were black? Why hasn't this been pushed by mainstream media? What are we not being told? Let's go there.
When you travel throughout Asia, okay, particularly when you go to Southeast Asia, they get darker skinned. There's Vietnamese who look just like us. Yeah. They have the Asian phenotype, okay, the face structure, but the skin tone and the hair is just like us. I remember speaking to some elders who served in Vietnam. They said we brought some of those prisoners of wars on the truck. And they look like they could have been from North Philly or South Bronx. The Cambodians look just like us. Even in China, there's certain places you can go where the Chinese are black skinned with nappy hair. Again, the Asian face structure, but totally African because we're the first to settle China.
I told you that less than 100 years ago, there were black Koreans. Real, living, breathing people with dark skin, Africoid features, and deep cultural roots, living peacefully on the very same land. And then, they vanished. This isn't a fairy tale. This isn't ancient legend. This isn't 2,000 years ago. This is within living memory. Photos taken between 1895 and 1935, just about a century ago, show us a Korea the world has forgotten. A Korea with dark-skinned men and women, children with kinky hair and wide noses dressed in fine garments, scholars, artists, officials, black Koreans. Yes, black. So the question must be asked, loudly, urgently, fearlessly, where did they go? Because these aren't dusty myths buried in stone. These are photographs, crisp, undeniable, captured in the silver breath of early cameras. So why does modern Korea look nothing like this? Why is there no public memory, no monument, no museum to honor them? How does an entire people vanish? Without a war, without a plague, without a trace?
When you think about China, that there now. Even in Europe. Why is Europe all white now when there's statues of Moors everywhere? Chinese don't look like this no more. What happened? You feel me? Something happened on the land, bro. We went through a reset. A new species been here invading the planet. The ones that can't take the sun. I know it ain't about skin color, but they still a new species. I don't care what nobody say. Especially when you really do your research on them incubator babies and them orphan trains. Like, what the y'all just got here? So a lot of your great-granddads just spawned here.
Japanese were formed when Ethiopians brought South Koreans onto the island and combined with the original people there known as the Ainu. The Ainu now, you're going to find the Ainu in the Philippines. They're going to be called Negritos. You're going to find them in Vietnam. They're called the Champa or the Montagnards. You're going to find African people throughout the Far East. Very dark complexion, very curly hair, wide nose, thick lip. You will also find those with straight hair.
Join us as we unveil the DNA evidence proving that early Japanese were black. Earlier, in 1923, Roland B. Dixon, an anthropologist, was the first to study Japan's earliest people. Dixon's research highlights the complex mix of characteristics in the early Japanese population. He found that they were a mix of Proto-Australoid and Proto-Negroid types. This mix was similar to the ancient population along Japan's coast, through Indochina, and even reaching India. Dixon also pointed out that the ancient Negrito element can still be recognized in Japan through specific characteristics such as a dark skin tone and osteology, which is the study of bone structure. This understanding encourages further exploration into the intricate factors like migrations, genetics, and cultural exchanges that shape the anthropology of ancient Japan. Then, in 1986, the Associated Press reported the discovery of the oldest Stone Age hut near Osaka, estimated to be around 30,000 years old. Experts believe that the people who built it were of African descent. The similarities between this hut and the ones found in Africa cannot be ignored. Furthermore, a hut similar to those used by African Bushmen was discovered in Osaka about 22,000 years ago. This finding is significant because the hut was well preserved and was cleaner than other ancient homes found in the area. Over time, several written works have documented the African influence on Japan's early history and foundation. Another earlier instance was found in the book, Civilization or Barbarism, by Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop, in which he stated in his first edition of the Negro Nations and Culture that the yellow Japanese race may have come about as a result of interbreeding between black and white in a cold climate, possibly around the end of the Upper Paleolithic period. Similarly, Japanese scientist Nobuo Takano, chief of dermatology at the Hamatsu Red Cross Hospital in Maryland, asserts that the first human being was black. According to him, blacks then gave birth to whites, and the interbreeding of these two races resulted in the yellow race in Japan.
As the caption says, these are Korean men. One thing that is distinctive about Korean men is the type of wide-brimmed black hat worn at this time in Korea. Here are more Korean men at the turn of the century. Alright, I really like this photograph of this Fucha woman from Fujian province, Japan. She reminds me of an AKA black woman that I know who has very similar features. Here are two Fucha women that appear to be nurses. I really love that there has been photographic evidence that has been shared. It makes it a lot easier to prove my point. Okay, so here we can see a Vietnamese orphanage from the late 1800s. You will notice a range of complexions and also some white children, probably missionaries' kids. Here's a group of Aboriginal Montagnard people from Vietnam. I remember reading about some of them aligning with the US forces against the Viet Cong during the Vietnam War, although never did they mention their very dark complexions. So here's a photo of a young girl from Lao Cai, North Vietnam. Not what you think of regarding people of North Vietnam today. The people they show on TV today are very pale in complexion. Unfortunately, I believe the original people have been mixed and pushed towards valuing lighter skin. Alright, here's a young Cambodian soldier. Check out his deep, swarthy complexion. Here are some more young male Cambodian soldiers. Here again are some more young Cambodian men. Their complexions are even deeper and swarthier than the two previous photos. This was an interesting photo. This was labeled as a Cambodian aristocratic boy, basically meaning his family had some wealth. In this photo, you can see the French soldiers surrounding the King of Cambodia during the mid-1940s. Of course, the French colonized and occupied Cambodia for many years. Alright, so going back to the Philippines, here are two Aboriginal women from the Philippines with their babies. Do they look like Filipinos that we are shown today? I want to deviate for a moment to re-emphasize my point.
I'm seeing a lot of anti-blackness from the Asians, okay? You know, they're talking about Asian hate, but I think it's more like black hate, okay? And I just want to point something out that, you know, the original Japanese was black. Right here, here's a picture. These are clearly African features on these indigenous people. And the story goes that in 25 BC, a ship from Africa, from a Hukong Kinte, who was one of the
BC.
African kings of Ghana, sailed the ship all the way from Ghana, and he got lost. He was trying to explore the new world, and he ended up in Japan.
Yeah, y'all, because Asians is black, y'all. The Asians we see be bleaching, and they just the light-skinned Asians. They black. Let me show you some, what is it called? The Mani people of Thailand. Let me show you some pictures of them. This ain't a black lady, y'all. They call themselves the Mani people. That's their tribe, I believe. That's what it's called. But they black. They black Asian. I ain't about to say black Chinese. I'm not going to do that. But they're black Asians. Let's get into more. They said these people, and there's still so many native Africans in Asia, they say, that are black, and they call themselves African, but they in the villages of Asia, y'all. I need people to not think that the whole of Asia is just white. We still got to remember that India is still up in that. Indians is dark as hell. But Asia is not light. Everybody's just not looking at the Japanese and, the Chinese. Everybody's just not bright light over there. Let's get into more. It's more. But I feel like everybody needs to know that. You know what I'm saying?
Black Indians exist. You don't have to be African to be a stud. You just have to be black. You qualify, sis. I'm not saying you're wrong. Black Indians do exist. I feel like I have been patient trying to explain to you guys that I am not black. I love that y'all have accepted me. I grew up in Florida, black culture is a big thing here. But for y'all don't even know me. Y'all don't even know me. And you want to claim that you know what I am? Let's pull up the receipt. Okay, here's the receipts. And okay. Look. I'm not black. I'm Indian. We're Indian. I am not black. I might be Mr. Sister, but I am not a sister. I am not a sister.
This says black people were the original Japanese people, but you guys aren't ready for that conversation yet. Anime is based on our true history. Suddenly, this is Maiko Hotep's in Japan story hit different.
See, that's a problem. You gotta understand, Kang. You're watching me, Piccolo, but why would you pick a low vibrational food like fried chicken?
That Kang is spitting facts. Let me ask you something, brother. When are you gonna sell some overpriced sea moss and call it the springtime of youth? Oh, hi there, Kang. Grand Rising. Grand Rising, Kang. My name is Izuku Midoriya, and I know you're worried about my quirk, but we're looking for some Kangs that could work on a poetry slam. Don't forget about the space sermon, Deku. We was Kangs.
Language. Yeah. No, they have two languages. Thai language.
Language.
I want to learn and to go. Okay. Okay. And what is rice?
Right. Cao vậy.
Nasi. Okay. Okay. All right.
Nó gọi là phút bà gò nasi anh học bội. Học bội hay. Tập ở. Tập này hay à. Học bội.
The house is Haboy. Oh, okay. All right.
Chị có say này bayu. Bayu. Cross bayu. Bayu.
The t-shirt is Bayuk. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh. What they believe in?
No.
No, ask them what they believe in. No, ask.
ปกติเนี่ยเชื่อเกี่ยวกับต้นไม้เจ้าที่เจ้าทางอะไรไหมอ่ะเราเวทเนี่ยเนี่ยหูแปลว่าก็ว่าเนี่ยหูมึงต้นไม้ก็เนี่ยหู She call tree is Yahoo. By finance, la besangin.
Okay, can we go inside? Let me go here. It's raining, guys.
Indigenous people of Asia, Bangkok to be specific, Aboriginals, Indigenous people in Australia, Indigenous people in India, like actual India, Indigenous Hawaiians, they were royalty. More Pacific Islands, Asian, Indigenous. Look at how they look. An Indigenous Pacific Islander, more present day. This is what the earliest Europeans looked like according to scientists.
The ancient black people of China.
Cornmeal.
And the parent Anjita. You guys are sisters? Ajina. Nice to meet you. Ajina.
A lot of people are not ready for this conversation. And the reason why is because for a long time, the history has been simplified and in some cases, completely rewritten to fit certain narratives. But when you actually start digging deeper, you start realizing something that is very important. The history of humanity is more connected than we were taught in school. Let's start with something that most scientists actually agree on. According to the research in genetics and anthropology, modern humans originated from Africa. That's not even controversial anymore. That's basic science. What that means is that the earliest human beings who migrated from Africa to other parts of the world, including Asia, were of dark skin color, melanated people. Now, pause and really think about that. If the first humans entering Asia were from Africa, what would they have looked like? They wouldn't have been pale, they wouldn't have had straight hair. They would have looked closer to what is today recognized as African features. Darker skin, tightly coiled hair, broader facial features. And that is just biology and adaptation over time. And here is where it gets interesting, and it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. In parts of Asia today, especially Southeast Asia, we still have indigenous groups that reflect those ancient traits. For example, groups like Negritos in the Philippines and some communities in Thailand and Malaysia, documented by anthropologists, not theorists. And when you look at them, you clearly see features that connect them to African people who left Africa many years ago. Now, does this mean that all Asians are black the way people are saying it in these clips? Not exactly, and this is where many people get confused. What it actually means is that the earliest population of Asia had strong African ancestry, and over thousands of years, as humans adapted to different climates, you started to see changes: lighter skin, different hair texture, different facial features, and that is called evolution and adaptation, not replacement. For example, lighter skin developed as humans moved to regions that receive less sunlight. The body needed to absorb more vitamin D. So over generations, skin pigmentation changed. That doesn't erase the origin. It just shows adaptation. And here is another part that many people overlook. A lot of what we are seeing today, this idea that some regions are naturally light-skinned, has also been influenced by history, colonization, and social conditioning. In many Asian countries, lighter skin became associated with wealth, status, and power. That led to skin lightening practices in Asia. It led to beauty standards and even media representation that favors lighter tones. You have seen it in Bollywood. So when you look at Asia today and think that it has always been that way, you're not really looking at the full picture. Even historically, when researchers studied early populations in places like Japan, they found evidences of diverse traits. Some scholars like Anta Diopo argued that early human populations across the world, including parts of Asia, had darker skin complexions before environmental changes. But I also want to be real. Some of the claims that were raised in those clips, like the entire populations vanishing or being replaced, that's not backed by credible evidence. And that's why I'm telling you not to consider it as a fact. Now, the real power of this conversation is not in exaggeration. It is in understanding. Because when you step back and really look at it, what you start to see is that humanity started from the same origin. Early populations across the world, including Asia, were of darker skin complexions than many people realize today. Over time, environment, migration, and culture shaped what we now see today as different races. And that right there changed the whole mindset. Because now it is not about us versus them. It is about understanding that Black people are not separate from the story of the world. They are central to it. Even though people today look different on the surface, when you trace it back far enough, and those connections are actually what should unite us, and what should unite Asians with Black people, what should unite white people and Black people. And that's why I always encourage you guys, unity. No matter race you are from, you all have the same ancestors. So that was it for today. I want you to tell me down there in the comment section what you think about this video. And then remember to like the video and subscribe if you have not yet subscribed.